Hello Gold Farmers, welcome to another Goldenrod farming video. Today we'll be taking a look at how I've been able to make my gold in patch 8.3. So I've had quite a few people ask me how I've been making my gold, how many tunes I make it on, how many servers I make it on, and I've just had general questions about my gold making. So first thing I'd like to clarify is I only play on one server, which is Moonguard. I play on Moonguard. And I only play on one character as well. So with all of that being said, I've been able to make roughly 100k every day. A lot of times here recently I've been making over 100k a day, which is really nice and it adds up very quickly. But how have I been making that 1k a day? And why does my gold keep getting lower and lower? And just a couple of other things. So first thing is the reason why my gold's kind of getting lower instead of going up and staying up is because I've been messing around with some market controlling just to see how well it works for me, and so far it doesn't seem to be doing too bad. Like, I've spent roughly 200k in it and I've made almost 100k back so far, so we're only 100k short from where I should be, which really isn't too bad at all. And keep in mind, this has only been like a day too, so I have controlled some markets before all of this, and I've been able to make a steady amount of gold off of that. I made about 100k off of Gilded Seaweave, and just kind of trying to control that market, so when it dips below a certain price I'll buy it out and then repost it for a higher price. I've been doing that for quite some time now, but recently I got into doing more than just the Gilded Seaweave, and I have spent around a total of 200k in all of that. Anyways, so how have I been making my gold in patch 8.3? So this is where things get a little messy. Since I only play on one character, I do a lot of profession swapping, and a lot of you may be wondering, how do I do profession swapping with crafting professions such as tailoring, blacksmithing, and leatherworking and stuff like that? Like, how do I do that? First thing is, I don't worry about my ranks. I don't craft anything that requires the ranks or anything like that. I don't worry about leveling up my professions either, because it's pointless since I'm going to be swapping them out for something else fairly shortly. So a good example of the professions I have been swapping to is Inscriptionist. I'll get my Inscriptionist up to 50, which will allow me to mass mill all of the herbs except for Xanthid. I'm not too worried about mass milling Xanthid because it's not worth it to mill it on my server. So there is that. Then I will swap over to jewel crafting, which I don't have any set order for how I swap, but I'll swap over to jewel crafting every now and then, which allows me to prospect, which I don't worry about getting the mass prospecting on any of the ores because it's not worth it in my opinion. So because it's not worth it to get the mass prospecting, I don't generally prospect a whole lot of ore because I have to manually do it, and that takes forever. So I don't stick with jewel crafting for very long, and I make sure I sell all of my materials out before I start prospecting again. And I haven't had to do that because recently my materials for prospecting have not sold, so I still have a decent stock of those. They're just waiting to be sold. Anyways, I'll swap over to tailoring, which tailoring I was just kind of messing around with to see if it was worth it to craft the tight spray linen bracers and all of that, which in the long run, yes, it is very worth it. It is absolutely worth it to craft the Tide Spray linen bracers if I was going to keep tailoring, but because I'm not keeping tailoring, it's not very worth it in my opinion. And for those who don't know what the Tide Spray linen shuffle is, it's a pretty complicated one, and I'd recommend that you look it up. I believe Sam and Dam has covered a pretty in-depth shuffle over that one. Anyways, over to our crafting professions now, I believe, or our gathering professions now, I believe. So how I've been making my gold with gathering professions is I've been making a lot more gold with skinning than any of the other gathering professions, but we'll start with mining. So there is a route that I was running. It ended up getting deleted somehow here in Vol'dun. It was a pretty simple route. You just kind of run this little loop right here. And I was running that a lot. I ran probably close to 5 to 6 hours of that. And I made a decent amount of gold off of monolite ore and storm silver ore. I have done some osmonite ore farming, but nowhere near as much as I have the route in Vol'dun. But those are the only two locations I have spent mining, and I've spent probably 10 hours within the past 2 weeks mining. So not a whole lot of mining being done, which I should probably change, but that'll definitely change once I get flying. Anyways, over to herbalism. So I've spent probably, again, about 6 hours farming the Vol'dun location for herbing, and then probably around 10 hours of Xanthid farming as well, maybe a little bit more. It just depends. Xanthid right now is very, very difficult to get a hold of, and it's going for about 60 gold per unit on my server, so I'm definitely trying to farm that up. But I've made probably a good 200k off of herbalism alone, which really isn't that bad, but most of it again is from Xanthid, so I mean 200k really doesn't mean a whole lot when you're farming a lot of Xanthid. And then skinning. So skinning, I've made so much gold off of. Like, I've made probably 200k alone in Bloodstained Bones, and that's not including the dredged leather I farmed, or the coarse leather I farmed, or anything like that. In total, I've made probably around 500k in total from skinning. And that is skinning alone. So, let's see here, what's my TSM say? I'm still learning how to use the TSM like this. So the most items I have sold, or the main way I've been making my gold this past week, or I guess this past month, is the Bloodstained Bones, which again I've been farming a lot of, and they just definitely sell. They're selling for about 10 gold per unit on my server at the moment, which is higher than what they were when I was selling them even. So anyways, let's get into the farming locations. So the first location that I'm going to mention is the Hangman's Point here. Bunch of quill rats, a hyper respawn, and just really good farming location, especially if you're after the Bloodstained Bones. You get coarse leather here as well, but I'm not so much after the coarse leather as the other materials. So, just mostly after the Bloodstained Bones, which, of course, the Bloodstained Bones are probably something to look into farming if they're selling for quite a bit on your server. But I also farm the Shoreline here as well, which gives you Shimmer Scale, which is going for about 6 gold per unit on my server at the moment, which really isn't bad at all. So that's the only coarse leather farming location I've been farming. So I've been farming a couple of different dredged leather farming locations. One of them is here. You also get the rubbery flank, really good farm. Rubbery Flank is going for about 60 gold per unit on my server at the moment. And then I've been farming the Dredge Leather farm over here as well, which also results in you getting some Gilded Seaweave along with some Rubbery Flanks as well. So overall, a really decent Dredge Leather farm. And then I've been farming, of course, the Veil of Eternal Blossoms for Dredge Leather, and then Uldum for Dredge Leather as well. So there's a couple different locations for Dredge Leather and Uldum. You got one here, you got Neferset or Neferset, or however that's pronounced, and then you got Cradle of the Ancients, which I farmed all three of those. I've spent probably around 50 hours in total. Or not 50, but probably around 30 to 40 hours alone in skinning. And this is like taking breaks too, so like farming for 15 minutes, skinning up and doing something, and keep in mind this is within like the past 2 or 3 weeks as well. Anyways, that's how I've been making my gold in 8.3. So hopefully this helps others make some gold as well. If you are playing on one character like me and want to do profession swapping, then it's a really good way of making gold. And as you can see, I'm already selling some items that I had actually flipped on the auction house. So anyways, that'll be all. Sorry for the long video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.